Hey Air, so glad you could join us on our flight today to Uz. We'll be taking off shortly, so please make sure your carry-on bag is stored securely overhead or underneath the seat in front of you. Turn off your phones and all electronic devices or set them to airplane mode. In case of an emergency, life jackets are provided under your seats. At this time, for your safety, please take a look around and locate your nearest emergency exit. Also, in an emergency, please remain calm. Things may not go as planned. Sometimes, like what happened to Job in the Bible. Do you remember what happened to Job? Job was living his best life, following and obeying God. Then, boom, one day everything changed. He lost his family, his belongings, and his health. But through it all, he didn't blame God. He trusted God was with him. And so were his friends. Let's read Job 2:11. Wow, these are some good friends. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar knew their friend was going through tough times and decided together to go to Job. Do you have friends who you can go to for comfort? Are you a friend who people would go to for comfort? When we think of comfort, we might think of someone giving us a hug, a mug of hot cocoa, or wrapping a blanket around us. Job's friends comfort him in different ways. Let's go ahead and pause here and read Job 2:12 through 13. When his friends approached Job and saw how sick and sad he looked, they all cried and tore their robes to show how sad they were too. And then they did something incredible, something simple and small to show their love to Job and comfort him. They just sat with him for 7 days and nights. They didn't buy him anything or sing him a song. They just sat with him. Has anyone ever just sat with you just to know that they cared? Or maybe you brought someone comfort through that way. Sometimes you can show love to somebody by just being there for them in times of trouble and doing little things to show you care. And Job's friends did just that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some turbulence. Please return to your seat and fasten your seatbelt. Later on, Job's friends started to speak, but when they spoke, they weren't words of comfort. They each took turns to explain why Job was going through such a tough time. They even said maybe Job did something wrong, so God was punishing him. This was the opposite of comfort for Job. Let's pause here and read Job 16:1 through 5. Job was probably very grateful when his friends joined him and sat with him. But when they opened their mouths, they turned out to be miserable comforters. He told them that if their role was reversed, he would have encouraged them and helped him feel better, not do what they were doing. Job's friends were better comforters when they didn't say anything at all. And this is a reminder for all of us that when it comes to comforting others, we don't have to overthink it. Sitting with them can do more to help our friends sometimes. Speaking of sitting, please remain in your seats and keep your seatbelts fastened at this time while the plane is in motion. We're in for a bumpy ride and through some turbulence. But we can remember, in our main point, we can show God's love in small ways.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please remain seated as we start our cartoon recap. Thank you.
Today's Bible story comes from Job chapter 2. Job lost everything he had, his sheep, donkeys, and even his children. Now he had painful sores from his head to his toes. Even though Job was very sad, Job trusted that God was with him. Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard about all the terrible things that happened to Job. They decided to visit Job and comfort him. When they saw him, they couldn't even tell if it was him because the awful sores changed how he looked. They cried loudly and tore their clothes as a way to show how sad they were to see their friend going through a really tough time. For the next 7 days, the friends didn't talk. They didn't have to. They showed their love for Job by just sitting with him, and that comforted him. After 7 days, Job and his friends started to talk, but what they talked about did not comfort Job at all. Job's friends' words were not helpful or loving towards him or God. They had been better friends to Job when they were sitting by his side and cried with him. Sometimes it's the small things like just sitting together with someone that shows the most love. We can show God's love in small ways.